Hey guys, Sam from West Meadow Rabbits here. Thankfully the weather is getting warmer, but that means that we are going to start having to deal with pests again. That includes biting flies, filth flies, mosquitoes, mites, ticks, fleas, and all other kinds of creepy crawly things that are dedicated to making our rabbits' lives hell. And today I'm going to share with you the best solution to deal with that naturally without any toxic chemicals and to really effectively solve problems with any of those specific organisms. That secret is diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is a almost sand-like substance. The technical name is calcium bentonite, and basically what it is it's the small microscopic shells of prehistoric single-celled organisms made of calcium bentonite. And these diatoms, as they're called, are very small, very angular shaped structures. You'll have to excuse the dog, she's running around in the background. But basically the diatoms, the way they're shaped, they are the perfect size and shape to puncture insects' exoskeletons. So insects, mites, arachnids, and crustaceans all have an exoskeleton, and they need that exoskeleton not only to, keep their body contained, but to regulate the moisture in their body. And the great thing about diatomaceous earth is whenever it comes into contact with insect or crustacean exoskeletons, it pokes thousands or hundreds of tiny little holes in that exoskeleton. And because the nature of diatomaceous earth is that it's highly absorbent, it also pulls moisture right out of those insects and dehydrates them. So not only does it kill them by, stabbing them quite literally, but it also dehydrates them and causes them to dry right out. Diatomaceous earth is incredibly effective at getting fleas, mites, ticks, and other insects off of your rabbits. So what I do with it is I dust each of my rabbits as needed in a little diatomaceous earth bath. It's perfectly safe for humans and rabbits. It will not cause any skin irritation. It's totally fine to get onto you, but it is totally deadly to anything that is not a mammal or, bigger than a bug, basically. So as you can see, this is a food grade product that I get from my local feed store. It is totally compliant with all organic farming. Again, there's no chemicals in it whatsoever. It's literally just a single ingredient of microorganism exoskeletons. And it is commonly used as a feed additive, believe it or not, as a kind of caking agent because, like I said, it soaks up moisture. So this can be really useful for rabbits, especially in humid climates. Maybe they've got a bit of wet tail, maybe they've got some parasites, and it can really help soak up that stuff. So as you can see, diatomaceous earth is basically this fine sandy gray substance. It's very light, very fluffy, quite powdery, slightly different sizes, with the finest dust being, really just, it looks indistinguishable from grime on your hands, to having some bigger chunks in here as well. And it is very dusty, obviously, so you want to be careful not to get this stuff too dusted up, which is partially why I use this bin. So before I get into a practical demonstration of how I use diatomaceous earth, I just want to touch on real quick how to use it in a responsible way. Now, the great thing about this product is that it is non-toxic to humans, it's non-toxic to pets, dogs, any of your animals, any complex organisms really that don't rely on an exoskeleton, it will not be harmed by. You should keep in mind though that it will kill friendly insects just as well as it kills unfriendly insects. What that means is if you accidentally get it into your pollinator garden or into your regular garden, it's going to kill butterflies, it'll kill bees, it'll kill worms. It will kill pretty much everything that, like I said, has an exoskeleton. So that's just something to keep in mind. You want to be a little careful while using it. The benefit and the disadvantage of it is that any exposure to rain will pretty much dilute the effects completely. So a lot of people use this in organic farming. They sprinkle it around their plants as kind of like a barrier against crawling insects like slugs, and that's all well and good, but when it rains you need to reapply. I personally view diatomaceous earth as a great tool, but like all things that are really awesome, unfortunately it is a non-renewable resource and it is mined. Now again, it's a very, common commodity. It's sold in big bulk bags. It's not too expensive, although it is, like 40 bucks a pop where I am. But the bigger thing for me is obviously with any non-renewable resource, I want to use it sparingly and only when necessary. I know some breeders, especially show breeders, just use it preventatively. For me, I typically only use it as a treatment for an existing problem unless there's a serious outbreak going on, or like last summer we had 2 weeks of straight rain and the mosquitoes were going ballistic. But normally I try to use it judiciously. Now, like I said, diatomaceous earth is technically a non-renewable product, so I like to use as little as possible. We really don't need that much. The goal is to just get it into the rabbit's fur, down to the skin, and thoroughly distribute it all over the animal's body. That will kill off any mites, fleas, mange, as well as if you get it into the ears a little bit, not too much obviously because we don't want too much grit getting in their ears. That will also kill off ear mites, although I tend to use a chemical product for ear mites. Anyways though, it's very simple to do. The key things to keep in mind, again, it's not going to harm your rabbit in any way, but because it is very dusty, it'll irritate your rabbit's respiratory system just like any other dust would, not because it's a little insect killing machine. So what I'm gonna do here is pretty simple. I poured about a drinking cups full, 8-ounce glass into this little bin I have here. I'm definitely not gonna use all of this, and the reason I leave this rabbit in the bin with the diatomaceous earth is because a lot of it's going to fall off and I want to capture that, and I'll use this a bunch of times. That way it's not blowing off, being wasted, and I avoid accidentally, genociding my pollinators, which if you guys have seen, I've got some gardens and I don't want to do that. So all I do here is take the earth, sprinkle it along the back to start, and remember, he's lying in this right now, so his whole undercarriage is technically in it. And you can see the dust is blowing off, and it's also working its way through his fur. This is all totally fine. You want to get into areas that may not be easy to get, so behind the head, working our way around the neck, along the sides of the face. And the great thing about this is that it's going to spread out all over his cage, killing any mites or insects that are hiding out in the crevices there. As he ingests some of it, it'll go through his digestive tract. And there is some anecdotal evidence, although I haven't seen any firm studies on this. But again, not a lot of studies are done on meat rabbits. But anecdotally, many breeders say that putting this through their digestive tract also kills parasites in the digestive tract. And if you think a lot of parasites in the digestive tract are, protozoa or, in some cases worms and, physical parasites that are bigger than microorganisms, I don't see why this wouldn't create a more unpleasant environment for them. And, I've seen good results. So I'll just flip him, do the other side. And this isn't too big of a deal for him, I've done this to him a few times. They may freak out the first time, but, if you're handling your rabbits often, they shouldn't give you too much trouble. Now, the trickiest part for me that I worry about most is where would I go if I'm a mite? And the area is around the genitals. Especially on males, there's a lot of blood flow close to the surface. So I want to get the bottoms of the feet between the toes, areas where the blood comes to the surface. And obviously, he doesn't like having his balls grabbed. I can't particularly blame him. I'm not a pretty girl rabbit, so I imagine this is not a fun experience. And we'll do the belly as well, which is also another vulnerable area. And, I'm just letting him do his thing. And you can kind of, if you don't want to get him on his belly, you can reach up underneath. And again, all this dust that we're generating, because I'm outside, I'm not too worried about his respiratory system, but this is going to be, distributed all over the area. You can see it's on me as well. And just like that, we have a dusty rabbit. Now I'm going to pop him back in so when he shakes this all off, it goes in his cage. So hold on one sec. So that's pretty much it to dust a meat rabbit with diatomaceous earth, guys. You can keep your earth in your bin that you were using, or you can put it back into your storage unit, whatever you have. I'm just using the bag. I'm not worried about mites or any kind of contagious organisms, because if they fell into that bag, that would be their version of hell and they would die. And I'd be quite satisfied by it. So again, just to wrap up, it's fantastic for any kind of arthropod issues you may be having. Crustaceans, which are mites, arachnids, other parasites, flies, biting flies, black flies, bot flies, even mosquitoes if you've applied it freshly and it gets on them. It's fantastic for all those applications. You just have to apply it roughly every day or two because it's going to shake out and it is going to get washed off both by the rabbit and any moisture it comes into contact with. So it's a great solution for acute situations. Some breeders do it as a part of preventative maintenance. I do it when necessary, when it seems to be necessary, and maybe I don't see mites full on, but I'm not happy with the animal's coat condition. It's got a lot of dry skin. All these things are kind of hints that something's going on, and 9 times out of 10 I find a good dusting with this for a few days can solve those problems. And the dusting is usually a part of my full regular healthcare maintenance routine, which I'm going to make a video on. I'll start discussing the individual aspects and putting videos out on those, and then I'll run you through the whole thing at once, so stay tuned for those. But for this video, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks a lot, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to leave me a comment, I'm more than happy to talk with you about this or any other subject, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.